Hello, everybody. I'm really honored and happy to be here with you all today. As you just said, I am co-president of Urgency, which is the global community-supported agriculture network, together with Xian, who is my co-president. And I haven't prepared a PowerPoint today, because my idea is really much more to respond to what has been said and to try and bring some insights into the discussion on the basis of what has already been said. So the first thing I would like to mention is the history of community-supported agriculture. It began in the late 60s, early 70s in Japan, under the name of Teikei, and it was the result of the industrial pollution of the land that was causing very serious illnesses, in particular Minamata disease. And the Japanese housewives got together with the Japanese Organic Agriculture Association and created producer-consumer groups called Teikei to overcome the issue of industrial pollution. And there are some principles of Teikei, which I've just put into the chat, which essentially are based on two joint pillars of food sovereignty and solidarity economy. There is solidarity between producers and consumers, between consumers themselves, and it is a shared responsibility and what we call co-production, which I saw on several of the Chinese slides. It means, for example, if there is a climate incident, that the consumers will come immediately to support and help the producers. But in many, many countries around the world, it also means that the group are inclusive of people who are facing misfortune and social exclusion. There are many different techniques for this, and I won't go into that right now, but the principle of solidarity economy is omnipresent in CSA, also in the type of structure. It can be a community farm, it can be a cooperative, we've heard these things. But the most important in these principles is the idea of advance payment and commitment for a year. Not always advance payment, but the commitment to the group for a season or a year that allows the producer to have a stable income, and also the farm workers to have stable incomes. Now, some of the obstacles are present in China, others are not. In many countries around the world, a key obstacle is access to land. Now, because in China there is land ownership for all people, it is very easy at village level in China to rent additional land from families who are not using the little bit of land that they automatically have under Chinese law. So it is very easy to produce a gain for all people in whichever region. The other obstacles, of course, are access to water and seeds. And in China, there is still a lot of work that can be done in terms of access to healthy seeds and to preservation of the historical biodiversity of seeds. I remember in one of the workshops at one of the Chinese conferences I attended, a presentation on 200 plus varieties of rice grown in a single valley. And this is essential also to fighting climate change. There is another element I would like to insist on and clarify here. In China, as in Japan in the early 70s, but in more modern times in China, a lot of chemicals were used. And the word safe food in China came to mean unpolluted, chemical-free food. And this has been one of the key levers of the huge success of community-supported agriculture in China. And I would like to differentiate between safe food, food security, and food sovereignty. Food security means having access to sufficient calories for your recommended diet. However, those calories can come from fast food. They can come from industrial agriculture. They can come from very unhealthy foods. And FAO is really just starting to work on the principles of the differentiation between safe food and healthy food, which is based on the food that people choose to eat culturally in their country. And China has one of the most biodiverse, rich diets of any part of the world. And this needs to be preserved, and CSA is doing a huge amount to preserve healthy, nutritious diets. So it is much more than food security. And these are issues that we are, as an international network, fighting at global level. So CSA went from Japan to America. From America, it came back to China and back to Europe, and it has spread all over the world. We have approximately 3 million members. And it's also important to remember and bear in mind that when we talk about a CSA, it is one or a number of producers, but also many hundreds of consumers. So altogether, we have probably well over 3 million members today. So what is the role of urgency as the network of national networks? We are responsible for bringing the different themes and music of all the CSA networks around the world together in terms of sharing research, training, and most importantly, in terms of advocacy to national governments and at European level, at United Nations level, which means, of course, within the FAO, the UN Food and Agriculture Organization, but also through the United Nations Interagency Task Force on Social and Solidarity Economy. So we work through the food sovereignty social movements, as well as through the social and solidarity economy movement, which explains my dual role within RIPES and within urgency. In terms of the tools, the training tools we have developed, many of them are online at urgency.net. Sorry, there's a W missing there. It should be www. There you go. We have training tools for planning your CSA from a financial point of view and ensuring financial viability. We have training tools for setting up CSAs, for moderating CSAs between producers and consumers. And it's very important to realize that while in China, the vast majority of CSAs are producer-led, in some countries they may be consumer-led because consumers are building groups and sometimes hiring producers to grow their food. because there is a growing global awareness of the dangers of industrial agricultural products on our collective health, both for people and for planet. Now, I was asked by Denison to give some global trends. Nobody so far has mentioned something very important, which is during the pandemic, which hit China first, there was between 300% and 400% increase in interest in the delivery of community-supported agriculture shares every week. Now, obviously, you can't just grow food at the drop of a hat. It takes time to grow food. So this is partly a great blessing, but it is also problematic to meet the demand and to ensure that demand will continue and not just be dropped once people feel it's safe to go to the supermarket again. But it is also important to know that at global level, networks have been bringing food from the peri-urban and rural areas into the city centers, be it in New York, be it in Beijing, be it wherever all over the world. We have all been authorized to continue distributing the weekly share of CSA. A lot of this is to do with the fact that it is a very safe production method. It is also linked to the direct from producer to consumer with no intermediaries aspects. And we developed on-farm guidelines collectively. We had a chat group where everybody could talk to everybody about how to have safe on-farm delivery and distribution procedures right at the beginning of the pandemic. I think that this is a particularly important seminar here, because I am firmly convinced that together with ASEC, that urgency can build and develop CSA more extensively throughout the Asian continent, which is so vast that we find it difficult to do effective outreach. Xi'an has developed a lot of training tools, and so has urgency. So I would like to make the suggestion that we work collectively to see how we can use these tools together with ASEC and how we can adapt them to the individual country situations, because it is something important, because every situation is different. Each country has their own priorities. As you already heard, we use participatory guarantee systems widely, both in Japan and in China, and also Dr. Doi is using the system in the Philippines, because it gives people peace of mind to know that their food is organic and that there is proof that it is organic and that this is not just another rubber stamp. The aspects of public procurement, in other words, producing food for schools and for school feeding, is also something I know that the Chinese CSAs are starting to address and that we are working on at a global level. So all of these elements, the collective producer-consumer support relationship and commitment, the commitment to growing healthy, nutritious food, which is not just fruit and vegetables. It can be dairy produce, it can be fish, it can be meat. In China, there is incredible tea as well, and rice. And all of these aspects are part of building a genuine alternative to the current neoliberal food system that is controlled from seeds to fertilizers through to contract farming that does not allow small-scale producers to have a decent living, that makes working conditions for many migrant workers almost slavery, and that delivers highly processed foods in supermarkets to create what we have today, which is as many people who are suffering from non-communicable diseases and obesity, heart problems, diabetes, as are those suffering from malnutrition.
You have 4 minutes left, Judith.
I'm finished, actually.
Okay.
Thanks, Sari.
Yeah.
I didn't ask how long I had, so thank you for telling me. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. I think I've covered most of the aspects.